Assalamualaikum everyone and a very good afternoon. I'm Hartini Othman and I'll walk you through into this forum today. Thank you to MPC, the organizer, for organizing this such a great event on the National Conference Behavior Insight 2021. I will walk you through into a specific topic on behavioral insight today on the behavioral insights for better regulations of electrical life and asset safety to Malaysian. Safety, including of existing street lights. Electrical accident cases are increasing. The Energy Commission's in 2020 has reported that since 2002 until 2020, there were 156 cases of electrical accidents, and half of that is actually a fatal cases. Uh, In 2020 itself, 18 cases were reported as fatal cases, and 12 are survived. And around that, 38% of these cases involve the publics, and it is very alarming. It is so worrying as other fatal accidents, but why people are not keen on pushing? Who do you think is responsible for that? Is that the governments, a corporate sectors, civil societies, or individuals? Do we need more vigorous actions, further amendment to the current regulations, or building up a new regulations that inclusive the street lighting in policy of electrical and electrics in Malaysia? To proceed further on this, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Engineer Azlan Robert Abdullah, a Chairman of Safety and Compliance Committee, the Electrical and Electronic Associations of Malaysia. Datuk Azlan graduated from University of Brighton, UK, with Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Electronic Engineering. He has over 35 years experience in the electricity supply industries in various capacities. He also has attained a CLP helicopter license, which enabled him to actually pilot the helicopter himself to transmissions, line patrolling and maintenance, which he introduced to TMB. Dr. Azlan also was a general manager of Perusahaan Automobile Electric Malaysia at Uniten Bangi, where he has involved extensively in the overall management of the manufacturing activities and business development of the company. He has held various positions in Tenaga Nasional Berhad, and this has given him a vast knowledge and technical skills, as well as leadership competency in the industries. Dr. Azlan also sits in the panel of interviewers of IIM engineers, also a council members of TEEAM, a chairman of Safety and Compliance Committee, and with various memberships and certifications in the engineering boards across Malaysia. Without further ado, I invite Dr. Azlan to proceed with discussions on the topic today. Pass over to you, Datuk.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, for your illustrious introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum to all. Good afternoon to all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have been asked to speak on the topic shown, behavioral insights for better regulation on electrical safety. And we have chosen as an example the street lighting, including public lighting as well. Okay. Today, I will try to impart to everybody some of these topics that I have listed down. Right. I will speak on the case in focus, the street lighting and public lighting fixtures, the hazards and the dangers. I will also touch on the overview of a behavioral study conducted by MPC under the leadership of our Madam Moderator, as well as the mentorship of Dr. Raiza. Then I will try to touch on some behavioral insight techniques for mitigation and intervention strategies, and to apply to what we are talking about today. And just to show you also some of TEEAM studies. The case in focus, as I mentioned, we will use street lighting and public lighting fixtures as an example, right? When we talk about electrical safety, we talk about hazards and dangers to public, usually. And every time when we talk about electrical safety, we will always rely on statistics, accident statistics, you know, and we will immediately associate ourselves with incidences, near misses, and we will then, what we do is, and then we will take the necessary action. I will call it, we will then react, usually, okay? Just to mention some of electrical accidents, causes of electrical accidents that we know of, we will always say lack of knowledge on electrical safety. Yes, we cannot totally say there is lack of knowledge on electrical safety, because on the private sector or on the organizational side of the sector, usually the organizations are more prepared in the area of electrical safety, whereby they will have standards, procedures, you know, rules to follow. Okay, but our problem here will be the public, the naive public, actually. Then the other causes of accidents that we will talk about, or we know about, is awareness. We do need to continuously create awareness on safety. In fact, on all aspects of safety, not just electrical. We should have really good, I would say, rigid and procedures that everybody must follow and apply, right? Other causes of accidents that we can think of are substandard equipment, as most of the time or sometimes we come across, but we also have to always remember that substandard equipment, substandard equipment is actually due to people looking for cheaper products. You see, if we get or pay for what we want, we will definitely pay more to get proper equipment. The other causes of accidents are materials, substandard materials. We hear a lot of complaints now that the substandard materials are being used for installation. And of course, the other aspect or the cause of electrical accident is the improper use of protection devices. There are many protection devices in the market that are being introduced, that are being sold, and we have been told that, you know, if we install this, we will be protected against electrical accidents or, you know, faults, things like that. But the problem is, with all these protection devices that are available, but there is no proper instructions on how to use devices or how to install these devices. Okay? Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we talk about electrical accidents, we will always react based on reports, based on news reports, or based on news that we hear, or accidents that has been publicized. Okay. Let us look at, for example, this report on the local media that says barbecue Kedai Rumah Mount Electric, which says that actually a helper in Italy that was killed, electrocuted from live post. Or here we have a news on a couple, what do you call this? A couple is suing the local authority or the city council, and also TNB, which is the local power utility, over faulty lampposts after a son's death. So when we receive such, what do you call this, news and all that, then we will react. We will try to do something. Some action has been taken to try to address this issue. Okay, why do we choose street lighting as an example for today? You see, street lighting fixtures, following this picture that I will show, some pictures that I will show later, here is because street lighting fixtures we can show that there are hazards and dangers because of these problem statements that has been discovered here. This is an area whereby there are no specific policies or codes. They are able to ensure the safety and well-being of the public, and also the public can or may be easily electrocuted by non-standards of fixtures that are being used. Okay. Now, what I will do is I will show you a set of photographs, a set of pictures. They go through with all of you if you have a look. And what I want you to try to recognize is, for each of these pictures, if you can jot down all the dangers and the hazards that are shown, and we will see what are the common issues that we have with such lighting system. Okay, let's start with this playground lighting. First picture there, we can see there is a nice playground lighting, but we have got this very nice decorative wiring that is on the outside that is going around the pole, right? Now, the next picture shows, it doesn't show the time taken by these two girls to walk down there, okay? But it's actually showing another pole that has got some electrical connection from somewhere, but the electrical wiring is on the ground. And here you notice where the access to the control or to the terminal port is left open. Okay. Let us look at some photographs. This is another picture showing the pole with the missing access cover. This clearly shows the access cover that is missing, and also components that is exposed, wires that are exposed. Okay. Now, another set of a playground or compound lighting is of a different design. Maybe the designer of this post, comes up with an idea or has an idea that because these covers are too near the ground, easily accessible to people, or people. So he has decided to design it with the access to the terminal block at a higher level, so that maybe children or shorter people will not be able to touch it. But then again, as the picture shows, covers are not properly closed, covers are missing. Okay. Another picture showing how the playground, right? Like the covers, even not properly maintained lighting fixtures. Okay, this is another one. Now, we also have these issues with our street lights. And if you drive down along the highways or along the roads, you may be able to see similar similar sights. We have wires hanging down from street lights. We have the access covers missing, like that. Components are showing. Okay. We have got cable connections that are done. I do not know, how what they were trying to do here. They are using the combination of, I think, bundle cable here to be connected to an underground cable using some piercing connectors, most probably to give temporary supply to that lamp post. Here another picture showing the access cover, the door access cover of doors that are missing. Yeah. Another picture showing another illegal or creative connection for the power supply. This is another example of street lamps or lighting with the cover is there, but it's not closed. It's not closed and exposed. Right here, this picture is a repeat of the picture I showed earlier. But what I'm trying to draw the attention here is somebody has also designed a very nice terminal block for the cable termination for the electrical connection. We have got covers, maybe replacement covers, but it is not properly closed. With our weather, rain, and things like that is there will be the internals may get wet. This is another example of components that are exposed. A similar picture here. Okay. This shows, you see, the street lighting will encounter cable faults, and a few strands of the street lights may not be lighted up, but they are being attended to, and the contractor or whoever is trying to fix the problem has come up with this idea of using a temporary cabling to do the connection, but look at where he has fixed his temporary cable. It's going to be guardrail along the road, and he's using connectors that are exposed. And I am very sure that the metallic parts that are exposed, if come in contact with the barrier may come live. This shows other hazards that are also visible or can be noticed in the public areas. This picture on the left, I do not know whether the supply to the street light is coming from the overhead line there, a temporary overhead line, or that is the street lighting supply wire and somebody is trying to tap supply from there. We sometimes do see feeder pillars to street lightings that are left open as such. Okay, so all the pictures that I've shown poses hazards and dangers to the public. Right. Now, if we had observed those pictures that I've shown, right, we will notice all this that I've listed down here: exposed cables, wires, circuit breakers, components, extras, etc. We have got missing covers. We have got temporary cabling connections that are being done. And sometimes we say here, the temporary cabling, a temporary connection will always be a permanent connection, you know, most of the time. And then we have got this unsafe or illegal tapping of power supply. As we have noticed, most of the time now, our street lights are also used as posts for advertising, display panels, sometimes decorative lightings during festive seasons, and all this supply, the power supply to all this equipment are tapped from the terminal board of the street lighting. Okay? Now, all these issues can be actually addressed, but what I would like to mention here is if we look at all these items that we have noticed and all these issues that we have noticed, I would like to actually summarize all these observations into just one word. And it is attitude. It is the attitude of whoever that is carrying out the work or doing some work at the street lights or doing the temporary connection or trying to, how do you call this, repair a fault, you know. So, I mean, whatever you do, whatever services, whatever action that you do, I'm very sure if you do it properly, you will not leave the workplace in the conditions as shown in the pictures earlier. Right. Now, when such things happen, it will pose danger to the public because the public are the people with the least, I would say, awareness and exposure to electrical safety. Okay, now just to mention on ownership and responsibility of the street lighting or the playground fixtures. Currently, most of the street lighting for the main roads, they are and the major highways, they either belong to the authorities, the local authorities, like for example the city hall, you know, and the local councils. For the highways, the street lighting usually belongs to the highway concessionaires, but the responsibility for all this also lies with the regulators, power utility, and even the public. Here, the public, when I say the responsibility of the public, I mean we would expect that if the public notice and see such hazards, they should be taught or they should be given an avenue of how to report all these hazards quickly to the owners of all these facilities. Right? Right. Now, what I will do next is actually to quickly go through a study conducted by MPC, together with, as I mentioned, the leadership of Madam Hartini, and also under the mentorship of Dr. When we brought up this issue of the dangers and the hazards posed by the street lighting fixtures, they conducted a behavioral study on two areas in Kalingaya. One is at Taman Medan and the other is at Kampung. Okay, now the behavioral study intended to nudge public awareness of lighting safety, meaning that they would like to understand how the perception or the awareness level of the public on lighting safety, and then they came up with some intervention strategies to nurture the public awareness and let them see how and what action we can take. Eventually, what we want, eventually, the objective of this study is to actually nudge the authorities to maybe the authorities or the owners of such sectors to come up with more stringent work procedures, better, uh, how do you say, implementation methods, and also to come up with proper standards of equipment, proper standards of fixtures. And of course, the other is to increase the public awareness by conducting continuous awareness programs for them. Okay? The objective of the study carried out, shown here, is initially to gather statistics, the data of electrical accidents associated with COVID-19, and also to nudge the public, the Malaysian public, towards street activity. And they did it by conducting a campaign by a postal survey. Right. For the findings, MPC or the study group organized a group focus group discussion comprising of the Energy Commission, the team, PAS, which is the Highway Authority, MPC, which is the local council for Malaysia, doing the standards for Malaysia standards industry, the JKR, the public department, authorities, of course, the MD, the public. Now, the intention and the data obtained were in the forms of statistics given by statistics of current electrical policy, statistics of electrical accidents, and also they looked at the consumers. Okay. Now, the data on electrical accidents provided, as mentioned by Madam Moderator just now, that there were a total of 1,056 electrical accidents, and there were equal amount of fatal and non-fatal, about cases, right? For the year 2020, there were a total of 30 electrical accidents and non-fatal 18 and fatal 12 of them. And the other statistics obtained were the people involved in the accidents, people involved in the accident, the percentage are the contractors have got the highest percentage at 45%, and then the public at 38%, and the employees of the utility at 70%. So we are very concerned with the statistics on the public, at 38%, which is, because I think it is very high. Yeah? So, unfortunately, we were not able to get any detailed statistics, or there were no detailed statistics available for accidents caused by what we are trying to study, caused by the item. Okay? So, blending and this research used a sampling method, and they applied this Dutch to get some result. Right. The theoretical framework which they have used are the standard theoretical theory of rational choice, this framework, and also the Dutch. I will not go into details of this because there are a lot of studies and papers that are made. But what I'm trying to mention here, trying to take here, is these are the frameworks that have been used by the group. So I will not go through this in detail, but they are actually available, readily available as well if any are interested in look. Right. What is more interesting is the results of this study, right? So what the group has done is they have conducted the study by preparing a participatory intervention technique or method whereby they have created e-posters and using on the social media and to get the response from the public and to gauge just to gauge their awareness level on street lighting safety. Okay. So the methods used by this group are imagery content and also textual content, one each for the two areas that they have selected. And the results are very, very, how do you say, impressive and very encouraging. You know, many of the process surveys were returned to the researchers and representatives. And also, they noticed that there was an increase in the complaints lodged to the local authority as well as to the DNB's portal. Okay, so the results were very interesting. Here is an example of an imaginary content poster. That means, you know, they do this posters with a lot of pictures, and also an example of textual content poster. You know, so what do you call this? Very exact. How do you say? The exacting result is the textual content poster seems to get more response than the imaginary content poster. I do not know why. I'm not good in this kind of thing, but I'm very sure those who did the studies will find it very interesting and maybe they are able to shed some light sometime. Okay, right. Now, so the conclusion of the study is objective of the study was to provide awareness and knowledge to the public. And the outcome is the poster, the pamphlets, the hunting, a video was also done. I managed to heighten the public awareness. But what is more important is this project actually wanted to ensure that the general public, you know, to be more aware and well educated, right? And it is also to see that, you know, can be taken until there are policies of safety that are established. Okay? Right. For the study, the overall plan was stated here below. They conducted phase 1, which is the awareness program study that was conducted from June 15 to December 14, December of 2020. But there are other phases that are still ongoing and to be carried out, as shown here. Phase 2, the intervention. They're supposed to have started from December to June this year, and they will move on to the phase 2 of regulation, and of course, the phase 4 of the social impact of the research. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, phase 1 of this behavioral study has been completed, and the results look promising. Now, what we intend is actually to try to arrive at mitigation and intervention strategy after the studies. Some questions were asked like, do we need to continue to have more education, system education, and starting young, even introducing PFE education in schools even. Okay? Uh, of course, we always will maintain that we will want continuous awareness program to be conducted by every organization, everybody, until safety awareness is really became second nature to everybody, and especially to so we need to do this programs, pictures, posters, videos, and so on. Now, the other way of looking at mitigating activity we have proper and proper agreements and standards. We have to fix certain designs for the street lighting, and everybody must follow the design. Currently, street light fixtures is up to whoever the owner is to come up with the design. AR has got their own standards, EOD has got their own standards. I think everybody has got their own standards, maybe even manufacturing standards. But fine, if the outlook of the post, of the design, of how the post looks like, go ahead, design whichever you like. But important is like the position of the terminal blocks, connection of cable, the type of terminal blocks, the standards for the terminal blocks, where they are to be placed, the positioning, even provisions for people who like to connect or to take power supply for decorative lighting or advertising boards and all that. All those fixtures, in my opinion, has to be, and everybody follows them, so that all these are standard. Okay, right. Now, I know, and I think everybody knows that behavioral insight. Why do you apply behavioral insights to safety culture? Right? I have I've read about BI. I've gone through the internet. I've come across this findings conducted by the organization, the economic and corporate development. I'd like to read some of the findings that they have actually come up. So it says here that BI can effectively influence individual behaviors to improve policy outcomes. Remember, I mentioned just now, after showing the pictures of all the hazards caused or posed by these factors, I say that all the findings that we have identified, the hazards, most, if not all of them, is actually it has got nothing to do with design. If we look at the street lighting design, if we look at the street lamps fixtures or the compound fixtures that are installed at the beginning, they are all done very nicely, very neatly, and things like that. But over time, when maintenance has to be done, or when repairs has to be done, the people who come do this repairs and maintenance left it in the condition as shown in the pictures. So here it says, and we can use BI to effectively influence behaviors to improve policy, and many policies actually the policy problems facing governments today involves addressing the behavioral drives, especially in organizations. Right? Now, safety culture is about an organization's belief, norms, practices, competencies, and behavior related to safety. That sentence itself says everything. And I think this is what we want to try to achieve. Okay? And this is especially true in the field of regulation. We have got many regulations. We have got safety procedures, safety rules, and all that. But accidents still happen. Right? Now, technical health and safety regulation means to protect citizens, workers, and the environment across sectors of the economy. While individuals benefit from these forms of regulation, interventions are aimed at organizations or regulated entities such as those that supply electricity, gas, or water. Okay, so these are all statements that are very precise and very true to me, right? In the energy sector, many high-profile incidents have occurred due to poor organizational behavior, including poor execution. I think we agree to this too. And despite the importance of safety systems and risk management for policymakers around the world, safety culture and the behaviors that drive it are relatively underexplored. So we have a lot to do, and we can do a lot with what we are trying to do now. Okay? Like, you can influence organization by the people, by other people within them, including through organization policy procedures. Right? But what we want is, we are used to promote organizational cultures that can lead to safety. We hope that this will provide possible methodologies and lessons learned to encourage changing organizational behavior in the sectors. I hope that what we are trying to do will nudge everybody concerned, all stakeholders, to use what we have today to try to build or try to develop a safety culture. We have done a lot in this area of safety, but I think what we have done, how do I say, just like we do for the sake of doing something, right? But we have not addressed the actual issue, and we have try to change the attitude of towards it. Right? That is about all that I would like to talk about on the issue of electrical safety, what we can do, and how we can achieve from now on use people to try to improve. Now, before I end, I would like to show some of the activities, what I call them nudges by team, that is related to safety. Right? Team is organized safety campaign, safety awareness by conducting such activities. They have conducted self-assessment campaign. They have even conducted CSR projects of electrical safety, welfare home, right? They have conducted electrical safety for epic assessment programs, right? And also, team has organized public discourse of electrical safety, and safety awareness. And also, whenever incidences are brought up through the media or through whatever, because the team will always try to come up with proposals and actions that can reduce or prevent further accidents, right? And also, team has organized talks, even organized pamphlets, even digital pamphlets on the topic of RCCB, how to check on RCCB to make sure that the RCCBs are working. And also talks on the protection of current all protective devices that are in the market as well. Okay? So I think that comes to the end of my talk on safety. So I think we have an idea of what we can do and what we need to do to address the issue and how to develop better safety. Thank you very much.
For a very interesting presentation, I think, and it's a very enlightening topics today or presentations. Interesting to see in this area of the street lighting. There's a lot of things that we can actually explore. There's a lot of opportunities, yeah, from a various perspective. It is very interesting that you touch base on two important elements here. First is on the regulations itself, and secondly is the attitudes. I think this is the two components which is contributing to all issues that we have. It is also interesting to see that a lot of unattended lamp poles, right? Exposed wirings and all that. So it is interesting to see this, how we can explore those opportunities. Yeah. So here I would like to ask you from your vast experience in this field and from your own experience as well, handling all the safety issues and handling, in fact, from a Malaysia or country perspective. How do you see the approach or the strategy or a strategic strategy in approaching these issues? Are we doing enough, or is that anything on the regulations perspective that need to be amended or improved?
Okay. What I can identify here is from your question is there are two very pertinent issues here. One on the limited awareness, and the other is a minimal adherence to safety guidelines. That is what the regulations say, and whether the current regulations are effective. Right? Okay. When we talk about limited awareness, right, for the public question, in my personal opinion, is the first line of defense for the public on safety issues is we should design our systems to be foolproof. We should really seriously look at the design so that the public will be prevented from electrical shocks or electrocution and so on. So here I think the first line of defense is we should have a good design or a foolproof design. Right? Now, on the limited awareness of the public, awareness of the public depends on culture, depends on background. I mean, not culture. It depends on the background, right? And I think that can be easily overcome by programs that we are now embarking on, or we can design awareness programs for the public, especially. For example, now We would like the public, if we ask the public, do you know about electrical safety? Do you know about the dangers of this street lighting? They will nod their head and say, yeah. If we don't touch the wires, it is dangerous, something like that. But what we want from the public is, if they can see a danger, if they can notice a hazard, right? How do we help the public, or how do we encourage the public to make a report immediately? To report that something is not right, something poses danger to the public. Okay, one of the things that we can do, which we are, we are so advanced in technology these days. Maybe we can introduce a QR code posted on every public lighting in the playground and everywhere, whereby if anybody, the users of the playground, notices something that is dangerous, they just point their phone at that QR code, and this information is sent directly to the authorities concerned. Just like what we are doing now with the C19, we have to tembak this, we have to shoot at this QR code. Similarly, I think we can do that, or we can introduce that to ease the public, to make it easier for the public to report on a dangerous situation, right? Okay, and on the other issue of attitude on safety or adherence to safety guidelines, as we mentioned, or as I mentioned just now, all this is about the attitude, and we need to change the attitude of people, right? Everybody, irrespective whether it is the organization or the public, right? Now, on the question of, is our current regulation effective, or the current regulation, all I can say is the current regulation needs a revisit, right? The current regulations may or is outdated, right? We need to look at it because things change. Things has changed so fast, and technologies has changed, right? We should be able to use the technologies that we have today to overcome a lot of these issues that we have mentioned today. Okay? Can you unmute? I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, it is very interesting, Dato', and I can see that it's a lot of opportunities to explore against the regulations as you talk about the innovations of the technologies, how we are actually creating the product design itself, yeah, to be able to make it a standardizations in the design that could actually concurrently protect the publics, yeah. As you say, there's a lot of influence factors in Malaysia as well. For example, monsoon season. There's a need to look into the design of the lamp pole, for example. Yeah, how we installed the wiring and all that. Yeah, it is very interesting. And to that, right, based on the attitude and based on the research finding that you have presented just now, it is very interesting to see that even we have done a basic pilot in just two small locations, it be able to change the attitude of the peoples, right? And and people start to actually lodge a complaints to the authorities, and the authorities start to take actions towards the faulty lampposts or street lights whatsoever. From this perspective, how do you see this approach in leveraging throughout Malaysia's as well as throughout the nation? And how do you think the level of knowledge is there any differentiation in terms of your perspective from the city peoples, the urban peoples, and how we actually can actually bridge this gap together in terms of bring them into a same level of knowledge and awareness and attitudes?
Well, generally, if you ask me, what is the level of knowledge or awareness of electrical hazards among the public, among the Malaysians, among Malaysians, both in interior and urban area, I would say initially their knowledge is superficial. They just know they know that there is danger. They know what is dangerous, right? You know, but it is like I mentioned. Most of us will read instructions or instructions given together with electrical equipment or electrical gadgets and all that. We will read and we will forget, you know. But if you ask me on the actual level of awareness, I would think that the gap may not be that wide because more and more of us are educated, right? The public are more educated. Whether irrespective you are in the urban area or in the interior, because of your education, you tend to recognize and you tend to absorb all these issues better, you know. So what do we do? What do we do to improve this, or how do we go about to improve this over time? Okay, and I think we need to, number one, we have to make it easier for the public to, as I mentioned, to report hazardous situations. We need to continue or to have a continuous awareness program for the public by having roadshows, by having flyers, banners, videos, what have you. Because I think what we need to do is to make safety culture a default in every Malaysian. That is what we need to do.
Okay, thank you, Dato, for your answer. It's very impressive. So that the level of educations, or the level of, I would say, peoples in Malaysia are improved now. It's just that we have to put more initiative or aggressive programs on how to implant those more, and how to educate peoples to have more awareness, and then by itself creating a good safety culture. Yeah. Okay. Perhaps another one that I would. It's quite interesting when you talk about the standards, the technologies, and all that. And while we are implementing this towards changing the attitudes on the program and awareness, how do you see a change or a mechanism into a new technologies, for example, in the LED perspective, or in a smart city perspective that we have today around the world, which it has been proven as a low maintenance cost, which I would see this as a benefit into getting a default that we have a good product design that is have a lot of safety criteria in it.
Yes, I would definitely agree with you that another method of enhancing or to develop better uh, safety culture or safety uh, how do you say, features onto this street lighting is, firstly, as I mentioned, the advance of the technologies that we have currently is able to help us in many, many ways. An example, let us say, for example, we talk about smart street lighting, right? You have street lights, you have street lighting systems, but currently we are still engaging people to go around to look at if the lights are on, if the lights are off, if there are cable faults. We don't even know if there's a cable fault, you know. So if we were to use technology, for example, like a smart street light system, this system will be able to tell you whether the light is on, whether the light is off, how many hours it's been on, how many hours it was not working. It will even be able to tell you the remaining lifespan of the bulb or the LED, for example, you know. And also, what is most important here is you will not, or you will do away with the human factor, okay? And you will reduce a lot of costs. For example, you don't need people to patrol the street lights to see whether it's lighted or not. And this is usually done at night. And we are paying overtime that is quite high when our guys work at night, you know. Now, so one of the ways for us to actually enhance safety is to use technology, is to use good systems that will really help the owners, the utilities, the local authorities who owns all these street lights. But the most important thing is we have to have one standard. Everybody should follow that standard. We are just Malaysia. We are so small, but we have got so many standards. Everybody have got their own standards. JKR has their standards, as I mentioned, TNB has their standard, the local authorities wants to have their standard. But actually, their standards are just for purposes of procurement. You know, it is not actually a standard to standardize the street lighting design or the street lighting system. So a standard, one standard is also very important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Datuk, for a very interesting explanation here. Yeah, we do see that is a lot of opportunities to explore from this perspective in how we can change our Malaysian into a safety culture awareness, and then be responsible for all the safety issues that we have out there, right? Thank you very much, Dato. It's very pleasant to have you today. And it's very informative, and it's a very interesting topics that I would see that it's more to explore. It's a responsible from everyone. It's not just an individual. It's a combinations or collaborations from every one of us, from the public sectors, from the corporate sectors, from the individuals and everyone, in order to make sure that this will be in the realization. Thank you very much, and have a good day. And for the and I thank you as well, the audience, for your time today, listening to this interesting topic. And if you have more questions, or you have anything that would like to ask the organizers or the speakers from the Datuk itself, and appreciate if you could drop those questions into the Dropbox with the email address, and the host will actually handle those questions and then get back to you with the answers from Dr. Azlan. With this, I thank you very much, and for your time and attendance on this. Thank you.